Oh, pause for kitty scratching right when I hit record. Oh, you want to keep going. We're on your time. We're on your schedule. Are you done? Well, I don't care. You also might be able to hear my washer and dryer in the background, but so sorry, I'm very behind on laundry because I have quite literally neglected everything in my life while I have been really trying to get starting line done by my deadline. So anyways, though, I did want to take the time out though to film this video for you guys. And not only is it just any regular video, it is the video that I get requested to do the most frequently, and it's one that I have probably done the most times on my channel. I don't even know how many dark romance book recommendation videos I have made in the 4 years now that I think that I've been posting on BookTube. I do have some new ones for you that I haven't talked about in any recent videos or in any of my dark romance specific ones. They kind of range on the scale of darkness, but with all of these, with all books, heed any of your triggers, make sure you check them before you jump in. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the books. So first up, I'm going to talk about one of the newer releases I think that I have on this list, and that is Serpentine Valentine by Gianna Darlings. This is a dark academia, sapphic romance, and kind of revenge plot romance. So this follows Luna and Lex. So Lex is a student at this university, and she's very academically driven. She's very excited to be there. She feels very fortunate to be there because she does not have the home situation that a lot of these other kids, these rich kids, all have. She's there on scholarship. She really looks up to the president of the university as a woman in power, and she is just very academically focused. And one of her professors takes notice of her and kind of starts this bit of a dynamic between the two of them. And Lex loves having these very intellectual conversations with him. They kind of develop this bit of not a friendship, but just maybe a more of a mentor-mentee kind of dynamic. And even when this professor gets a little flirty with her and just kind of pushes that line a little bit, she's back up. I'm definitely not interested in you. I'm not interested in any men, in fact. And he just cannot fathom that. This dude is a piece of shit. He does end up drugging and assaulting Lex one night on campus before dumping her out in the woods. And when she comes back with a vengeance, no one believes her, and she's basically shunned from campus. The university has no choice but to let her back in because they don't have any reason to expel her, even though the entire campus talks about her and the president does. She's just has this reputation now around campus, but she's not going to let that get in the way of her education, and she's also not going to let all of the people who did this to her get off scot-free. This professor is still teaching, the president is still there, everyone who covered it up is still there, and she is prepared to exact her revenge and kind of disrupt the status quo that this campus has when it comes to covering up assaults against other women on campus. And she kind of forms this vigilante group, and one part of her revenge plan to get back at the president that she used to admire and then was one who covered it up and blamed Lex for everything is through her daughter Luna, the good girl on campus. I really enjoyed this book. I liked the romance a lot between these two. However, just the highlight for me was Lex's character. I think if you've read the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey, and if you kind of like Lana's character and kind of Lana's, journey in that book, I think there's a bit of that energy in here. I wish it was longer. I would take a second book of Luna and Lex, to be honest. I just enjoyed watching her get her revenge on all of the people who were so deserving of it. Next up, okay, this one's darker, more between the two characters themselves. Luna and Lex and Serpentine Valentine don't really have a lot of darkness between the two of them. It's more things that have happened. But this one, it's the relationship dynamic that's pretty dark, or starts out pretty dark. God of Malice by Rena Kent. This is the first book in the Legacy of God series, I think. It basically starts out with a scene at the top of a cliff where our heroine is kind of imagining her death and what it would be like if she jumped, and kind of contemplating that a little bit. And all of a sudden our hero is right there, and he ends up making a comment to her of that if she's going to jump, at least let him photograph it because he wants to document her death. And she's hold up, you're a weirdo. That's not something you should be saying to me right now. And she's never mind, I changed my mind. Well, then he basically pushes her off the cliff and is the only thing holding her to life, and is you thought I'll let you back up here, but you're gonna have to repay me for the favor, or I can let you drop. Our hero in this one is not a hero, okay? He is a bad he's bad, okay? Listen, like, I can't really defend him. He is an actual psycho. I think, Killian, right? Killian and Glendon, are those their names? So I forgot to look them up before here. So I'm going to roll with that his name is Killian because I'm pretty sure it is. And he is a true psychopath. Like, he does not have emotions. And as you go throughout the book, being in his POV is one of the most interesting things. Like, I loved being in his POV just in how he processed information, how he reacted to people's reactions around him and everything, and just how, like, bored he truly was in life and how he always has been in life. That is until he sees Glendon on that cliff, and then he kind of gets a fascination with her, and because that's so out of his norm, he can't help but just basically stalk her, follow her around, demand her attention. And she is like, I need you to literally get away from me. Like, I can't forget what happened up on that cliff. Like, I need you out of my space. But they start going to opposing universities. They're like rival universities for all these really rich and powerful families. And Killian just simply doesn't leave Glendon alone. There's obviously more to it than that, but I'll kind of leave it there. I will just say I loved Killian. Like, I already said it though, how much I loved his POV. And I mean, Glendon was great too, because I think she was also fascinated by him, but also like, this dude is literally insane and he's terrifying, but also like, there is a part of me that likes that and that kind of craves that. So there's definitely, like I said, he triggers with all of these, especially at the beginning of this book. Like I said, Killian's not a good guy, but red's my favorite color. Next up, let's go with a captor, and one that I haven't even talked about on my channel yet because I read it this month, so I'll be talking about it in my wrap up, and that is Vengeful Gods by Elliot Rose. So this one is a dark, why choose captive romance. So our heroine in this one, her father was a very powerful member of this secret society. He was just a piece of garbage, and when she found out about what the secret society was doing, specifically her father, in terms of like trafficking people, she was like, oh no, and she ran from everything that she thought she knew in this life. And now as an adult, she's kind of got her own life going. She's got some friends, she's got a job, she has a tattoo shop. That is until one night a mysterious but very hot man, because obviously he's got to be hot, shows up at her tattoo shop, gets a tattoo from her, and then he ends up asking her out on a date. She agrees, and then when he picks her up the following night, he ends up drugging her and kidnapping her. And then when she comes to, she realizes that she is being held by these three men, who the three of them are all involved in this secret society. However, they're kind of trying to work from the inside to dismantle it. They are victims of the secret society, and they have in turn then tried to like work their way up through the ranks in order to kind of take it down. And they hate our heroine because they know who her father is and they think that she's just like him. And now that her father is dead and she is like the heir to all of that, they're like, okay, well, we're not letting you out of our grasp, and you're actually going to be the tool to helping us achieve what we want to. So obviously the secret society stuff is dark. What some of these characters have been through is dark. And then obviously there's the captor-captive dynamic on top of all of that. I will just say this was a very fun book. It's very spicy. It's kind of like the perfect level of dark, I think, in terms of like, it obviously like kind of goes there, but it's not like super graphic in a lot of ways. So again, if you don't want something that's like, oh my gosh, like it's really going to take a toll, but it's more just kind of like a bit of like a thrill factor throughout it, I think that this is like a good one for that. Next up, let's go with, so this one is dark in terms of it's very heavy emotionally. It's a very emotionally dark book. These characters are both very sad. They have been through a lot. They've just been through a lot, okay? Where There's a Will by Jessie Walker. So this is the first book in a duet. It's Where There's a Will and If There's a Way, and this one follows Will and Way, and it's childhood friends to enemies to lovers. So Will recently had someone pass away in his life, and that kind of sent him into a bit of a free fall. So he jumped on his bike, left college, and has just been kind of traveling around the US, just really like running from his pain. And he ends up back at his old town that he used to live in when he was a child. And when he arrives, he kind of gets sucked back in with some of the people that are there. And one of those people that he ends up seeing again is Waylon, who was his best friend and who he loved very deeply. but something happened between them, and then Will's family ended up moving, and he hasn't talked to Wei since. And as soon as Wei sees Will walk into his bar that he owns and works at and like plays with his band, he is not happy. He wants nothing to do with Will, and Will is still kind of confused because he doesn't really know what happened between the two of them, and Wei isn't really, he's not a great talker. He doesn't really know how to express everything that has happened to him and what he has all went through, and Will doesn't really even know how to express everything that he's went through in their time apart, and it's their romance together. It is so emotionally charged and just heavy. Wei, I mean, they're both sad, but Wei especially is just sad and struggling. He hates himself at times. It's hard to see a character hate themselves in the way that he does, and kind of like self-sabotage, and just truly the things that he went through is like horrible, and you just wish nothing but the best for these two to finally like find their way back to each other and to finally find happiness, because they're so deserving of that. But anyways, it's very emotionally dark, so I will say it's not necessarily like mafia and like kidnapping and like that kind of stuff. It's just like really, really sad, the things that these two have had to go through, and then just like seeing how much they want to rely on each other but they don't trust each other. Ugh, stop it, it's so good. One of my top books that I read last year. Next up I have The Brit by Jodi Ellen Malpass. So this one is a dark mafia romance, and it's also another captive one. Well, our hero in this one, he had a really rough childhood, and he actually was not like born into the mafia. However, when he was 10, I think like 9 or 10, he ends up witnessing like a mafia scene going down, and the leader like sees him, and he doesn't have an heir, so he's like, he kind of takes him under his wing. Danny, right? Kind of takes Danny under his wing, and Danny ends up being his heir. As an adult, his father has passed, and Danny has now inherited everything that like all of this empire basically that his dad has built. Anyways, he is trying to secure this boat dock in Miami, and in order to do that, he's kind of working with some shady people. Obviously, there's a lot of shady people in this business. And when he is on a trip to Las Vegas, one of the people that he really needs to keep in line has a woman with him that he ends up kidnapping, and that is our heroine, Rose. And she is in a bit of a mess. She's not with this like political man because she loves him. She is sent in by people, and we don't really quite know why, and you'll find that out as you read. But then when she is taken captive by Danny, the two of them kind of have an instant sort of like attraction. They can't really understand why they kind of recognize something in the other, but it's truly just because they both have been in circumstances that like life has kind of thrown certain things at them that like isn't necessarily fair, but that's what it is. And obviously this one is darker just because it has like some violence and things in it, but yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I really liked Rose and Danny's story. What do I have? I have 1, 2, 3 left. What do I want to talk about next? Let's talk about The Madhouse, because I feel like I haven't talked about this book in a hot second on my channel because I kind of forgot about it a little bit, but then Liza James just posted a little teaser about The Madhouse 2. So this is technically part 1 of a duet, and this is a sapphic step-siblings romance, and dark. I mean, obviously these are all dark, but this one is pretty dark. So Ophelia and Cedar, so obviously they are step-siblings, no blood relation whatsoever, but when their parents get married, they are all a part of this cult. And when Cedar finds the opportunity to escape, she takes it, but it kills her that she has to leave Ophelia behind, but she thinks that she's going to be okay, and if Cedar can at least get out because she is not accepted, she has to take the opportunity to do so. So now as an adult, Cedar has kind of built her own life. She's found a community. She's found kind of like her place a little bit. And when she gets a call that Ophelia is I think she's at the hospital, and they're like, she's saying she's your sister, and she just murdered your parents. You want to come pick her up? And Cedar is shocked because she hasn't had contact with her family at all in the years since she's run, and she never really expected to hear or see Ophelia ever again. And when she arrives, Fee is definitely not the little girl that she remembers. And I don't really want to give too much away about Fee's character, but she definitely has some feelings towards Cedar, about her abandoning her and about everything that their parents have done to her since she's left. let's just say that her parents got what was coming to them. And yeah, the clutches of the cult, though, is not just gonna like let these two go. And Fee is definitely struggling between the light and the dark inside of herself, and she doesn't really know which one she wants to win out, you know? So anyways, I really love this one. I just love Liza James's writing. She does dark romance so good. And I cannot wait for part 2, because this does end on a little bit of a cliffy. I don't think it's been brutal. It's more like it definitely has me really excited for book 2 and excited to see how things keep unraveling. So anyways, also it's kind of like Lizzie Borden-esque. So if that piques your interest at all, check it out. Okay, next we have an MC one. Let's throw an MC one in the mix. Distrust by G.N. Wright. So this one, our heroine, she is the daughter of the president of the Fallen Crows MC, and he has always kind of tried to keep her away from club business. And when she's growing up, though, she wants to be more and more involved. And when she ends up showing up to the compound one day, she does meet these 3 guys, and she kind of strikes up a friendship with them. And as she grows up, like, the 4 of them are all friends, and her dad has kind of just had to tie his hands and say, like, whatever, she's gonna be here, she's gonna be here. And when it reaches her 18th birthday, she decides that she wants all 3 of her friends, and they end up sharing a night together. However, the next morning, the 3 of them completely like vanish from her, and then she ends up getting kidnapped by the mayor in their town. And then when we pick up in the present day of this book, it is 2 years later. Her father has now passed, and she has finally been rescued and returns back to the compound. However, people are not necessarily happy to see her return, including her 3 friends, who now Aiden, one of them, he is the new head of the Fallen Crows, right? Or no, it's Hollowed Crows. Hollowed Crows, Fallen Men, whatever. The MCs, I get them shuffled around in my head. But anyways, he's the new head of the motorcycle club, and the 3 of them absolutely hate her for what they think is her total and complete betrayal and abandoning them. But she has a story that they don't know and that they don't really want to hear and believe. And it ends up being kind of like this second chance kind of thing between them, but they truly all just have such deep hurt and betrayal between them all that it's like very, very messy as they start sorting things out. And obviously there is club business, so there's like external wars going on as well. It's a 4-book series. I've read the first 2. I loved both of them. I will definitely say the guys do not take it easy on her, but she is also not a doormat. She has lived through atrocious things, and like nothing that they can do can hurt her worse than anything else that she's already had happen. So anyways, really enjoy this one. Also, sorry, I think you can start to hear them like landscaping outside, but we just have one more book, so I'm just gonna push through and get it done rather than like wait for them. And that is Hidden Scars by Andy Jackson. So this one I did not expect to be as dark because it is a college hockey romance, and I was like, what's gonna be dark about that? I'll tell you, it's one of our heroes is going through some pretty dark things with his family. This one follows Preston and Jeremy. So Jeremy is at this university. He's on this hockey team, and he just kind of plays hockey because he likes it, you know? He has his friends, he has his social life, he has his routine kind of down, but that kind of all gets disrupted when Preston ends up coming to this university. And the hockey program is pretty stunned that he's coming there because he is a very well-known and very accomplished player. And they're kind of like, why are you coming to our program? And when Preston shows up, he's like, he's got no time for anyone's bullshit. He's like, I'm here to work, I'm here to play hockey, I'm here to win, and you all better get on my same level or like or step aside, pretty much. Like, you shouldn't be here if you don't care. And instantly Jeremy's kind of put off by him, Preston's kind of put off by Jeremy, and they end up being roommates. And Jeremy tries to like integrate Preston into the group, and he's just really resistant to it. But then slowly but surely Jeremy kind of sees that there is more to Preston than what meets the eye. And Preston comes from a very prominent family. His dad is like one of the world's renowned plastic surgeons. So he kind of of has this reputation. People just think that he's maybe like this rich boy and kind of like this perfect guy who just shows up and like is just really serious about hockey, and Jeremy kind of sees beneath that and sees that there's way more to Preston, and it ends up being their romance. I really love this. I love the safe space that Jeremy becomes for Preston, and seeing him slowly but surely trusting someone and opening up to someone, because you know it's not easily earned, and like that's not something that comes natural to Preston, who has for so long had to just kind of like stay quiet and keep all of this to himself. I really loved their relationship. I love the hockey aspect of this. I love the hate to love aspect of this. I love everything. But yeah, I will just say Preston's life is pretty dark, and that does obviously overflow into other components of the book. So definitely this is not like a light, fun hockey romance, but there's a lot of depth to it. And if you're looking for that darker edge, here you go. So anyways, that is all of the newer, darker romances that I don't think that I've talked about in any videos. At least a lot of them I've read within the last like 6 months. I think The Madhouse is the only outlier that I haven't read like recently. But like I said, I don't think I ever talked about that one in a previous dark romance recommendation video. I know I've talked about Vibe tons because that's like one of my favorite books, but need to give The Madhouse some love. So anyways, that is it for today's video. On Friday, I'm going to have my chat chill and get ready with me. I haven't done one in a while, so if you have any questions, leave them for me down below. I'll also do an ask over on my Instagram story and probably on my community tab as well. But you can drop any questions you have below for me within the next couple of days before I get that filmed. So anyways, that is it for today's video, and I will see you when I see ya.